Hey guys, it's Tim, and this is Wrestling Unlimited, as it's Monday, August 4th, 2025, and this is the Wrestling Wrap-Up, our wrestling news show that's going to be coming to you every Monday and Friday, roughly between noon and 1 p.m. Central. I was going to try and start it at noon, thought I'd be back home by noon today, but I had to take my son to a friend's house. They had a little thing they had to do, something school-related before school even started, and didn't know there was road construction out that part of town. There's a bunch of road construction that really slowed me up. So we are here, though. We are live, and we're going to be talking a bunch of stuff tonight, or today, actually. I'm used to going live at nighttime. We're going to be talking a bunch of stuff today, as we're going to talk about SummerSlam, the fallout of SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar's return, the fallout from that. Janelle Grant's people put out a statement. We're going to talk what's next for Becky Lynch and the women's IC title, and we're going to even give you a little AEW news here as well, when it partakes with a former women's world champion and where she's been, and one veteran wrestler in AEW that needs to take some time off for a, quote, as they called it, I think it's invasive surgery. What did he say? Yes, very invasive major surgery. So a lot and more right here on this episode of the Wrestling Wrap-Up. But before we get into all of that, I want to say thank you for joining us here. Twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, YouTube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, and podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, if you are watching live on Twitch, you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can help us out by hitting that donate button down below, or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also, remember, you can help us out by subscribing to the channel one of two different ways. You can either subscribe with a tiered subscription, or you can subscribe with Amazon Prime, because remember, if you have Amazon Prime, then you have Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and you always get one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month. And I greatly appreciate it if you did right here for Wrestling Unlimited. Also, remember that you can help us out over on YouTube by hitting the subscribe button. That way you know we post new videos. That way you know we go live. And that way you know when we go to the community tab. Or post to the community tab, sorry. Also, remember that you can help us out another way by hitting the join button and becoming a channel member. As a channel member, you get access to news, access to our graphics packages, our graphics tutorials. You get emotes and emojis you can use next to your name, a badge next to your name, and so much more. And finally, if you want to support the channel and ask whatever question you want here in this video, in this live stream, in this show, you donate a super chat in the live chat. What I want to make this show mostly is a fan-driven show. I want your guys' opinions. I want your guys' thoughts. I want your guys' topics and headlines. What do you want me to talk about? What do you have to say about some of the most pressing things in pro wrestling, like Brock Lesnar being back? Let us know with a super chat and tell us, and we'll read it live on the air. Tell us what you think of all this and where you think it's going, where you think it's going to lead to, and how bad you think it really is going to get with Brock Lesnar back. We'll talk about all that, but also remember to head over to the Epic Game Store. Buy something. Whether you're buying a new game, whether you're buying an old game, whether you're claiming a free game or getting bucks for Rocket League, Fortnite, or Fall Guys, use this code right here, PW Unlimited, at checkout, and you will be supporting us at no extra cost. Again, that is PWU NLIMITED for all Epic Games and Epic Game Store purchases. We're also brought to you by AECOOLY, but we'll talk about them a little bit later. So as far as our main topic of the show, it's SummerSlam, and Brock is back. What the hell? Now, I got to look at this from two different ways. I've got to look at this from I'm analyzing the show and the company as a whole. And I never call myself a reporter, but I do have to sometimes look at things from a reporter's standpoint. From a point of, oh, this is the company and the people running the company. But at the same time, I can look at it as a fan of just the TV product and a fan of the wrestlers on TV, the characters that they are playing and portraying. Kobe Lopez as Seth Rollins, Phil Brooks as CM Punk, John Cena as John Cena, and Brock Lesnar as Brock Lesnar. And because of that, it is hard to say, I'm a fan of the Brock character, I'm glad Brock's back. Because at the same time, you're like, Brock Lesnar did some skeezy shit. He was named in the Vince lawsuit, which we're going to get to and talk about here in a moment. Fuck that guy, you know? And you've got to almost look at him from two different perspectives in two different ways and two different lights, in my opinion. You can look at it from a journalistic reporter standpoint of fuck Brock, or just from a outside, not character standpoint. Fuck Brock. Brock was trying to get with Janelle Grant. Vince was trying to set it up. Da 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 da. Now, nothing ever happened between the two other than text messages. And I'm not trying to make, what's the word I'm looking for, excuses or try to make it look better on Brock or anything. It's just fact. It's fact of what we know right now. Whether something did actually go down between the two face-to-face in person, that has not been put out yet. And so when you look at it that way, and it's like, oh yeah, Brock is one of Vince's boys, and we know what that means. You know, it's a boys club behind the scenes in WWE. You look at it that way and go, screw them. Laurinaitis gone, needs to be gone. Vince gone, needs to be gone. Brock gone, need to be gone. From that aspect. But then when you look at it from a totally, I don't know, like just say I'm a fan that only watches the show every Monday, Friday, and pay-per-view. I don't follow anything else other than that. I don't know that Brock did anything with this Janelle Grant lawsuit. I just like the Brock Lesnar character. You can also look at it in that aspect, and that's one way I'm looking at it, because I've always been, since 2003, 2002. When did Brock make his debut? 2002, when he powerbombed the Hardys. Jeff threw that steel can. When you're looking at it from that, a fan aspect, it goes, fuck, Brock is back. Hell yeah. Brock returned. I love the on-screen character of the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar. Not the I live in Saskatchewan Brock Lesnar, married to Sable Renamero, father of, Maya Lesnar and so forth. I look at it, and I am looking at it, as the character, the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar. I'm not looking at it like Jonathan Majors, the guy that got, rape allegations on him. I watched Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and liked what they were somewhat doing with the Kang the Conqueror character. So you have to, and granted, they did the kind of something there too. And that's different as well, because there were actual allegations in a lawsuit put on Jonathan Majors. Brock is just named in a lawsuit. Brock is not being sued. Brock is not a defendant in the case. Brock doesn't even have to, if they don't want to, show up in court and testify, because Brock is not named as a defendant or anything. Unlike the Jonathan Majors thing, which is different, but I kind of use that as an example because it's like real life. You did shitty things, but I liked your character you played on the movie. So you gotta look at it from different aspects. And it's like, I got goosebumps when Brock Lesnar's music hit and Brock came out and did the thing, because I was like, oh shit, the Beast is back. I did not say, fuck, Brock is back, this guy's a shithead. No, I was looking at it purely in that moment as a fan of that character. Love it or hate it, don't want to listen to what I have to say anymore going forward because of it. Okay, I understand that. I got a lot of blowback last night when I posted a photo of my goosebumps because Brock was back. It was because I've always been a fan of the Brock Lesnar character. I was excited for the character to be back. Now, do I think this is the right business move? Do I think WWE should have brought him back now? No. Hell no. Especially with the lawsuit still ongoing. And that's where we got to get to next. The Janelle Grant lawsuit. Back right before the Royal Rumble 2024, a lawsuit was filed against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and WWE on basically sex trafficking and rape allegations. And with that, in the initial lawsuit, there was a portion of it that said that Miss Grant at one point was set to meet up with and potentially have sex with a man that Vince was trying to court to sign a new contract that's a former UFC champion. And we all knew who that was. Brock Lesnar. Now, when that lawsuit comes out and the 5 or so page document gets put online, Slim Jim gets aware of it and says, oh boy, we don't want to be associated with this company if Vince McMahon is there. What are you guys going to do, TKO? And immediately, as we've learned, Ari Emanuel and all them or whoever, I don't know, Mark Shapiro had a talk with Vince and said, this company's either going to go downhill with you or you let the company thrive and walk away. Do what's right for the company, your family, and so forth. Because he still has, his grandkids on at least Stephanie's side are going to be affected by that. If this company tanks because Vince doesn't want to, whatever, his daughter, his son-in-law, if Vince would have steadfast and said, fuck them, let the sponsors leave, then the company probably would have tanked down a lot, especially monetarily wise. With one, because it's when one sponsor pulls, you got the domino of how many more are going to pull out. And so Vince made the decision to step away and no longer be associated with WWE. They let go John Laurinaitis, and they essentially said, Brock, you're supposed to be in the Rumble this weekend. You're supposed to work to a feud with Gunther at WrestleMania. Scrapped. We're putting Braun Breaker in your spot. He's doing all the same things, including being eliminated by Dominic Mysterio, and we'll revisit this in the future. And we thought in the future meant when the lawsuit is done and over, whether the lawsuit goes to discovery and actual trial, whether the lawsuit goes to arbitration, which they think it was going to, and so forth. The assumption was they will reevaluate Brock when the lawsuit stuff is passed. Well, the lawsuit stuff is not passed. But according to Dave Meltzer on last night's Wrestling Observer Radio, he did state that what he is hearing, and apparently the only person that knew anything about Brock being there last night was Mike Johnson of PWU Insider. And I want to read, before we get into it, we'll get what Dave said because it kind of chronologically makes more sense. But Dave said last night that he heard that WWE Legal, for whatever reason, he doesn't know why. But 4 weeks ago, WWE Legal actually cleared Brock to return to television, to return to programming, to return to the company. Now, keep in mind as well, Brock has still been part of this company the whole way through. They never cut ties with Brock Lesnar. They never fired Brock Lesnar. For all we know, Brock Lesnar was still on the payroll getting a check every single month. We don't know that for fact, but I mean, a lot of people like to make the assumption of they added Brock back to the active roster. Oh my God, Brock was never pulled from the active roster. Brock was never taken off the active roster page on their website. So that right there tells you that they always wanted Brock back eventually. They always had the plan to eventually bring Brock back. Also, another thing to look at here, and I don't know if I'm grasping at straws and I'm thinking too much into this here, Brock has been popping up a little more recently in the public eye. People have been snapping photos and posting them online within the last month or two. So the big question is, how long has WWE, Triple H, Nick Khan, the guys at TKO, Mark Shapiro and Ari Emanuel, how long have they been, hey, let's get Brock back. Hey, let's figure out a way to get Brock cleared through legal. Legal, what do you think is the right thing to do? Can we get him back on TV? How long has that been? Has it been on just a month? They cleared him 4 weeks ago. They said, hey, you think it's good to bring Brock back? Legal said, sure. And it was just that? Or was it a month and a half, 2 months ago where they said, let's look at all aspects, look at everything and figure out if it's fine to bring him back eventually? We don't know, but all we do know is that 4 weeks ago, they got the all good to bring back Brock Lesnar. And last night, nobody knew about this. The big fan rumor online, and I know Fightful tried to kind of spark this a little bit and give a little nothing really to it, was that The Rock was going to show up. Because Fightful had written, and we'll pull this up on the screen really fast, and no shade on Sean or any of them over there. But they did write something that, at least to me, especially since I got people sending me this quote, saying, did Fightful just report that Rock's coming back? They wrote, quote, there is a lot of chatter internally regarding the possibility of The Rock being at the show and being involved in the main event. Then he says this isn't confirmed whatsoever, and top talent hadn't, and staff hadn't been briefed on it. However, the details around the main event are being intentionally kept quiet. And much like last night, the particulars of these angles are distributed on a need-to-know basis. The Rock isn't featured on run sheets, but that means very little. Now, we've seen before that things are kept off the run sheet to be kept a surprise, to be kept a secret. As we saw at WrestleMania. Was it WrestleMania? No. With Elimination Chamber. Nobody knew what was going to go down with The Rock and John Cena turning heel and Travis Scott slapping Cody. Triple H went so deep on that to the point where they didn't even tell the truck production, hey, this is the layout of the segment. cameras, be ready for this. Is it? Triple H had to be the director. Triple H had to be cut to a wide shot here, double shot. We got to get John's face, because Triple H was the one that knew it was going to happen, not really much of anybody else. And so it's not like they're not against working everybody, not telling everybody something for a big surprise to not be leaked out. Kind of similar to the Seth stuff, which in a way is the same but different. They're not telling everybody what's going on. They're actually telling people the opposite of what's going on because they wanted to swerve everybody with Seth. But then last night, and I just want to say, Mike Goldberg in the live chat, you keep spamming the live chat, you are going to get pretty permabanned because I've given you multiple warnings on this. But regardless, as far as Brock being back last night, nobody was reporting this, and apparently a Mike Johnson PW Insider report actually got overlooked because everyone was so enthralled in watching the match, and roughly maybe 10-15 minutes or so before that match ended, Mike Johnson had the report on Brock. Mike Johnson was the only one that had the Brock scoop. He wrote, quote, "Spoiler, massive name just arrived at SummerSlam. I'm getting off a flight, but have received text from several sources telling me Brock Lesnar is back and will emerge after the main event. I am told the company flew him into New Jersey last night under the cover of darkness and hid him very well all day. There was talk of a surprise for tonight that even the company writers were kept in the dark about. And this is obviously it." And this was at, 9:20 last night? He reported this. The show ended. Well, actually, no. If I'm wrong, it wasn't 10-20 minutes before, because I'm looking at the wrong time zone. Johnson's 9:20 would be my 8:20. So about an hour before the show ended and Brock showed up, Johnson had this story up on PW Insider, not even under his paywall, which is shocking to me. Not under the elite section. And nobody picked this up because everyone's enthralled in watching this match or watching the Dom and AJ match before it. No one was on PW Insider looking, but Mike Johnson did have this news before anybody. But everybody else didn't. So that means Johnson probably got some of the best sources there is. But that's one thing that it did leak out. It did leak out before it happened. But very, very few people knew. And very, very few people got it out there. Because it's like Dave didn't know beforehand. John Pollock, Sean Ross Sapp. Nobody but Mike Johnson. Anyways, not to toot Mike Johnson's horn. We've got all this going on, and Brock is back, and he shows up on screen, and I was told by two people that were there live at the show that at least their section and everyone they can see around them, jumped to their feet, flew up in the air, oh my fucking God, and were wild. Now, we've seen other videos from certain people posting reactions to this, and they're just like, really? Really? And there are people around them kind of not reacting either, but I was told that a majority of this crowd, from people there live in the building, lost their minds, went wild. Now, granted, there was like 55,000 people in the crowd, near 60. So it's easy to say, hey, everyone that I can see around me was going crazy. It looked like everyone was going crazy. Sounded like a big pop on TV. So it's like, okay, from a business standpoint, it looked good because you had everyone going wild. You had everybody going crazy. You had the big reactions from the crowd. But then when you look at it from a business standpoint, from the outside, it doesn't look good because the lawsuit is still ongoing. But for another reason as well. The other reason this doesn't look good is because WWE didn't do the press conferences. Because WWE didn't let media come ask questions, whether that was Saturday or Sunday. That is another thing that this impacted, I believe, and others believe as well. WWE usually does, and they didn't do it for the Saudi Arabia show, but they never do them for the Saudi Arabia show. But WWE usually brings in media to a back room and lets them talk to a couple of the winners and lets them talk to Triple H and ask a couple questions. They didn't do that this weekend, and the word is that for the foreseeable future, they will not be doing that. Now, they are branding their post-show as a press conference because Joe Tessitore last night said, we're we're here on the post-show stage outside of MetLife Stadium, and we will have people come out here and talk on the press conference. It'll be just like normal. And I'm like, oh, so they're going to bring media out to the stage? No, they didn't. I thought maybe they would bring media out to the stage and they wanted to do just the press conference in front of the... Nope. They are now calling their post-show a press conference, even though it is not, because there's no press there. There's no media there to ask questions. It is Triple H and others reacting to this crowd, which Triple H, we have a story for Karrion Kross coming up here in a moment I'm going to talk about. That I get it in one aspect, you can take it as him saying one thing, but then in another aspect, they weren't saying one thing, because I talked to somebody that was in that crowd right there and they were chanting, "We want Kross," even though he thought they were chanting, "We want Brock." On TV, when you're listening to it as well, I want to say it's what is that thing that they had back a couple years ago? Green Needle or whatever, where it's like, if you know what word you're supposed to be listening for, then that's the word you hear. But if another person's listening for another word, you hear another word. And I think that's what it was. Once I knew that they were chanting, or once I heard Triple H say, "We want Brock," "You got Brock back," I went back and rewound because I wasn't paying attention to the crowd and go, were they saying "We want Brock"? And at a moment's notice, I first said, "Oh, it does a little sound like "We want Brock." But then I went again, I'm going, no, it's "We want Kross." So it's one of those kind of things as well. And the last thing we got to talk about here with the Brock stuff is, like, a lot of people are upset. And how upset are they going to get? Is it going to get to the point where sponsors step in? We've seen it in the past. They had the fabulous Moolah WrestleMania Battle Royal. Snickers said, "Hey, we're going to not sponsor WrestleMania if her name is on this show." And they pulled Moolah's name off and never brought it back. They brought Moolah's name. They removed Moolah's name, and Snickers was fine with it. So for something like that, now the big question is, could sponsors get upset that Brock is back? Could sponsors get upset when Brock Lesnar walks down to the ring and there's a, quote, Minute Maid logo right next to him? There is a, what is the spiked drinks that they got sponsored now? Right next to him. Whatever it is. Whether it's a Snickers, a Mars, or whatever. Is now a sponsor going to say, "Oh, crap, there's photos of that guy next to our logo on your sidewalls and your barricades and your ring. We don't like that. Do something about it, or we're going to do something about it." That is a very big possibility, and we're still so early into Brock being back that, how do I say this? We haven't heard of those repercussions yet. I know with the Slim Jim stuff, that came about a day and a half later. The Vince lawsuit dropped, at least for what we know from the outside looking in. The Vince lawsuit stuff dropped on a Thursday afternoon, evening. We heard about the Snickers stuff the next night. Granted, it was like right after the Brock, the Vince resignation, but still, the big question now is, could sponsors now get involved and say, "Hey, we don't like that Brock's back. We don't want him associated with our brand. We don't want him next to our logo in your ring," especially now that they've gotten, let's look for a second here. How many goddamn logos did they have on that mat last night? And you know one sponsor that's not going to say anything, and that's going to be Prime. I can almost guarantee that. But you have others. And let me look here really fast. I think I saw a top-down shot of the ring on Getty Images a couple of times. Let's see. Keep scrolling. I want to see all the different sponsors that they had just in the ring itself on the canvas. And now, I'm not seeing any of the WWE did upload a butt ton of photos since last night. I know I saw this. Maybe it was from night one. Let's go back here. Hey, Universal, even though you deleted your comment, I can still see your comment, bud. So if that's how you think, that's how you think. Whatever. I don't care. Don't just say it. Prove me wrong. Tell me what I'm saying wrong. Okay, now I'm not. But like, here's a good one. Xfinity. The big logo right in the middle of the ring. Xfinity. Mike's Hard Lemonade. I'm seeing a couple of General Auto Insurance. Are they going to be happy that Brock Lesnar is standing on their logo. The photos are being taken of Brock Lesnar with their logo. And here, I got it right here now. So we've got Cricket Wireless, Riyadh Season. Saudi ain't going to care about Brock. But then we have the General, Mike's Hard Lemonade, Xfinity. We know Minute Maid sponsored stuff last night at SummerSlam as well. And their logo was all plastered on the barricades and whatnot. So it's like, our sponsors now going to want to pull out and say, if this guy is here, if this guy is on the show, if this guy could be anywhere near my logo, I don't want to be associated. It is a very feasible possibility, because especially since we've seen it happen in the last couple of years. Now, as far as what's next for Brock, all we know is he's going to be working with Cena. Now, whether this was a Cena idea or not, we don't know. A lot of people are taking a quote from Triple H last night, I feel, and spinning it into their own thing. Basically, Triple H was talking about, we told John, whatever you want, we're going to try and get for you. And whoever you want to work with, you can work with. I'm paraphrasing, of course. I don't have the quote right in front of me. And it's like, and I can pull up the quote, actually. Hold on. I think I have it here. I want to get the exact quote. Let me see. He said, if I could pull up this quote. But basically, he was just like, hey, we talked to Cena. We asked John what he wants for his final year, and we're trying to make it happen, basically. And so everyone took that and ran with it of, oh, Cena asked for Brock to be one of his final opponents, so WWE got him cleared through legal. Whether that is true or not, we don't actually know. It's just what people are assuming, and you know what happens when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. You ain't going to make an ass out of me. You assume that's what he was talking about. You assume that he was stating John asked for Brock. We don't know that for sure. But as far as the first ripple of outside chatter from non-wrestling fans and non-wrestling media regarding the Brock Lesnar return, Janelle Grant's, her representation has released a statement on Brock Lesnar's return last night. We're going to pull it up here on the screen for you guys. Let's grab this here. A representation for Janelle Grant did send media the following statement stating, quote, "For far too long, abuse was allowed to thrive under WWE's leadership. Instead of righting this wrong, WWE has done nothing to ensure those responsible are held accountable. This attempt to sweep misconduct under the rug will backfire. We look forward to the full set of facts, including those about Mr. Lesnar, coming out in a court of law where they belong. But in the meantime, we refer you back to Janelle Grant's updated complaint, which outlines in detail the abuse she endured by McMahon and others while employed at WWE." Now, we, again, still don't know if this lawsuit is going to go to trial. We don't know what more is going to come out. Per the NDA, which Janelle Grant's lawyers and representation are trying to get thrown out, per the NDA, they can't go to trial. If a lawsuit is thrown out there, which legally, for the NDA, shouldn't anyways, it all goes to arbitration. They mediate, they reach a settlement, and there we go. And that's the other question. They're talking like that's not the case. But does WWE legal think they're going to go to mediation and it's going to get swept under the rug or whatever, they're good, or that a settlement's going to be made? Because, again, bringing Brock back now, clearing him 4 weeks ago, from the outside looking in, you would go, well, what do they know about this lawsuit that's not public yet? What do they know about how the lawsuit is progressing that's not public yet? Do they know that it's going to get settled? Do they know that it's not going to go to discovery? It's not going to go to trial, and it's just going to go to arbitration? But the way that Janelle Grant's representation is talking here, it does sound like that they're still under the assumption it's going to go to discovery and it's going to go to trial. At least that's what they're hoping. And they don't think that it's just all said and done. So, Yeah, a lot to talk about there. We do have a couple bit donations here from Esports Gaming Rules. He says, quote, I think Janelle Grant wants WWE go bankrupt under TKO with that lawsuit because it's all about the money. No, that is not. That is 100% the opposite. And we shouldn't be thinking about it like that. This is not a lady that wants to bankrupt this company. It's one that was wronged by a man that ran the company, and others in the company knew about what was going on and didn't step in to stop it. And now she wants her justice. From what we have read and heard, she really only just wants what she is due and owed from the NDA. Because when the initial story got out, Vince stopped paying the NDA. That is why then 6, 7, 8 months later, the lawsuit came. Because per the NDA that she signed, she was supposed to get paid, what, $3 million? Vince paid not even half of it. And that is what she is looking for with this. Her day in court to get the money she is owed. It is not anything to bankrupt WWE. It is not anything to have WWE go under because it's all about money. It is, hey, you told me to stay quiet, then you stopped paying me. Did she maybe tell somebody else about what was going on and it leaked out? Yes, but what we don't know is whoever got the info from the Washington Journal or whatever it's called, the Washington Journal, in that first report, Wall Street Journal, sorry. And that first report that came out was not Janelle Grant. It was somebody else that knew what was going on, which means that maybe it was somebody that she told everything to before she signed the NDA. Because whatever she tells people before she signs the NDA, okay. She can tell anybody everything. She can tell anybody anything before she signed the NDA. Once she signed the NDA, then she's got to be zip. But if somebody knew what was going on, like an event what happened where Vince called her and sexed her up, and then she immediately went to a friend and said, I just need to vent. That person knows everything. There could be a person like that she had a confidant that she was talking to and telling things to throughout the course of events of everything that went down with Vince. And that could be the person that went to the Wall Street Journal. That could be the person that went to the board of directors of WWE and said, hey, you need to look into this. We know that it wasn't Janelle Grant. But then the other question is, did Janelle tell somebody this before, or did Janelle tell somebody all this after she signed the NDA? If it's before, it's all good. Vince is in the wrong. If it's after, Vince may not be in the wrong, but still could be. It's a slippery slope. But Vince stopping his payment to her is what led to the lawsuit. Because she felt like, hey, I was told to be quiet. I was told to not say anything, go public, da-da-da-da-da. I kept up my end of the agreement. You didn't. You stopped payment. So just watch what's owed to her. She's not trying to bankrupt the company and put somebody out of business. He also sends Grant's team as PO about Brock's return to WWE and even some of the IWC. Yes, a lot of people are mad. But it's like, to me, I look at it from a character standpoint. Yes, you shouldn't have brought Brock back right now. Not with the lawsuit not finalized. When the lawsuit's done and everyone's gone their separate ways, then you bring Brock back. I know you're on limited time with Brock's age and everything, but you should have waited. They really should have waited to bring Brock Lesnar back. Now, if this was a John Cena begged him and asked him and really wanted Brock as one of his final opponents, and you don't have time to wait, that's still not a good look. And I'm not putting anything on John Cena here. I'm not saying that this all happened because of John Cena. Don't take it like that. Because that is how some are taking it. That John requested Brock, and the company just said, oh yeah, screw it, fuck it, we'll give John whatever he wants. And now some are mad at John Cena on Twitter. Whether that's warranted or not, we'll have to wait and see. He also says, I hope we hear DC's response to Brock's return to WWE because he thinks Brock is banned from WWE and UFC as part of TKO. For all he knows, he is. Maybe he has asked to do something with Brock over the last however many months or years. And they told him no. Nobody knew that Brock was coming back last night other than a very, very, very select few. So I highly doubt that Daniel Cormier would be one that would know. Because Daniel Cormier's got his different podcasts with ESPN. He does other things with UFC. And maybe one day he said, hey, let's put Brock on the podcast with me and Chael as a guest. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But maybe that's when he was told Brock's on a banned list. Because he was on the Mighty Mouse podcast and told Demetrius Johnson when Johnson was like, you ever think about doing something with Brock? And he was like, Brock's on a banned list for TKO. We can't. And for all he knew, that was real. That was true. And that was about a month ago. Ish. Now, right around the time that Brock was getting cleared to return. Well, of course, everyone's going to go, well, DC lied. DC was trying to also deflect us from Brock stuff because he knew Brock. No. I wholeheartedly don't think DC knew anything about this. And when DC said that, he was under the impression of, no, Brock is not allowed in this company, whether that's WWE or UFC. So that's the whole thing there. I've seen a lot of people throwing shade on Daniel Cormier last night and this morning. That's unwarranted. Very unwarranted. Now, what happens tonight on Raw, we don't know because we don't know where Brock is going, where Cena is going. Do they want Brock and Cena in their program to play out on Netflix? Do they want it to play out on USA for those TV ratings? We don't know. We don't know if they're going to show up on Raw tonight. We don't know if they're going to show up on SmackDown tonight. And to be completely honest, waiting to SmackDown, company business-wise, is the better move because everyone's going to tune in that normally doesn't watch Raw every week to see if Brock shows up tonight on Raw. So they're going to get a boosted Netflix number. They're going to rank higher than they normally do in the top 10 on Netflix because everyone's going to show up going, oh, is Brock going to be on Raw? Oh, my God, what are they going to say or do? And when he doesn't show up on Raw, they're going to be like, oh, my God, we got to watch on USA on Friday. Oh, smack. Oh, snap. Is Brock going to show up? Is Brock going to be there Friday? So, like, from a pure business standpoint, to get the most eyeballs and better views and ratings, you save Brock till Friday. But where this is going to play out, we don't know. We know that, John Cena is going to be working the Paris show. We know John Cena is going to be working the Australia show. We know John Cena is doing something in December. No word has come out if John Cena is working Survivor Series in San Diego or not yet. But essentially, Cena needs 3 more opponents. Brock is one of them. Gunther was supposed to be one of them. We don't know exactly Gunther's status now that he needs nose surgery. And then we've got whatever the third one's going to be. Now, could they have John also work Survivor Series? He does War Games? Sure. But that's not one where you need a singular opponent. You need to find the John Cena opponent for that match, that show. That's just going to be you put him on one of the War Games teams because John hasn't worked a War Games. So that's what I think there. You need 3 more opponents for John. Brock is going to be one of them, so you need 2. 3, you got 1, you need 2. Now, off the Brock Lesnar news, we went almost 40 minutes on Brock Lesnar here, talking about everything we know, and there's not much that we do know. Also, one more thing from Esports Gaming Rules. He says, do you think John Cena heel turn is a failure because of The Rock and Travis Scott? Because of The Rock and Travis Scott? No. I just think it was a failure because they had no direction. Yes, because Rock kind of, but then they just didn't really flesh it out when they should have after. It's a whole thing that we don't know the full story and what's going on, so it's hard to say. It's hard to tell. We don't know if you can blame The Rock. We don't know if you can blame Travis Scott. You can blame The Rock. You can't blame Travis Scott. I'll just say that. You can't blame Travis Scott. Travis Scott not smarting up to the business. Travis Scott did not make it to SummerSlam like he was supposed to, and screw him, whatever. Go from there. As far as The Rock does go, there's word emerging that The Rock thought he was going to have even more power than he did. And when he didn't get that power that he wanted, that's when he didn't go to Mania, and that's when we haven't seen him or heard from him since the McAfee show. That's a rumor going around. Don't aggregate it or say that I reported that. That's just a rumor that's been going around for the last 24 to 48 hours that Rock is not happy with this company because he thought he was going to have Vince level of power when Vince had all that power. Anyways, as far as the scene of heel turn being a failure, it was a failure, in my opinion. It was, especially with the way they did the heel turn or the babyface turn back on Friday of John just showing up, walking out and going, Cody, sorry for everything I've done over the last 3 months. That's not me. I was manipulated. Let's move on. And then we got probably the best John Cena match in over a decade with Cody Rhodes. We got one of the best WWE matches all year, maybe in the last couple of years, with John Cena, Cody Rhodes. Those two went out there last night in the main event of SummerSlam Night 2 and fucking killed it. Now, moving on forward, coming out of Night 2 of SummerSlam, we saw Becky Lynch defeat Lyra Valkyria to retain the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And it sounds like we may now know, and we got to talk about a couple of different things here, but we may now know what could be next for the man, Becky Lynch, and the Intercontinental Championship. According to a new report from bodyslam.net, they are stating that talks have been ongoing, that Becky Lynch could be working with Nikki Bella going forward with the IC title on the line. Now, in my opinion, I don't like this because what has Nikki done to earn a shot at the IC title? Nothing. At least when it was going to be maybe her and Brie going for the women's tag titles, they could have set up a number one contenders thing, got them number one contender, or you could have just been like, hey, many women's tag teams left, just throw them there. But with this, it's like, shouldn't it be Bayley going for the title? I think it should be Bayley. But it looks like it's going to be Nikki Bella. But when you look at Nikki Bella, you also got to talk about Nikki's tit issue. Yeah, I said tit issue because she called tit. But Nikki Bella is still dealing with, the issue from her breast implant issue. Apparently, she took an elbow from Piper Niven last week on Raw, and it shifted her implant to her ribs. And she talked about this, stating the following. Where was it? I just had it open and then it closed. Give me 1 second to reopen the deal here as far as update on her injury. Nikki Bella shares. There we go. So she was on SiriusXM this past weekend and was talking with her sister Nikki and basically stated, anyone see the heat spot from Monday? Piper's elbow. Yeah, it's been hard to laugh and cough, but it's okay. We're going to get it fixed one day. I told the doctor, I go, I'm newly divorced. So the minute the boots are hung up, I'm coming back to you. And we're going to make these girls look real good. Because these girls are going to get some attention in the future. And they can't look like that. So for Nikki to say that it hurts for her to laugh, it hurts for her to cough, she's going to go out there and still wrestle? Not get this taken care of and still wrestle? More power to her, I guess. But it looks like going forward, the plan for Becky and the Intercontinental Championship is for her to work with Nikki Bella. We don't know when that's going to take place, whether that's Clash in Paris, whether that's Crown Jewel in Perth. We don't know. Hell, if they want to let Nikki heal up and wait and do it in San Diego, that'd be great because that's where she's from. San Diego, California. You do it at Survivor Series. At the same time, she should be having Becky in War Games. But that's just my thing, my opinion. But it looks like the next program for Becky Lynch going forward is going to be a program with Nikki Bella over the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Now, another thing coming out of last night's night 2 of SummerSlam was the post show. And the fans were chanting, we want Kross, we want Kross. Yet Triple H took it and heard it and thought they said, we want Brock. Which, when you're listening, you can maybe kind of think they're saying that, but it's 100% they were saying we want Kross. And Triple H is like, oh, yeah? You've got him. He turns around, looks at the crowd. You want Brock? You've got him. And that's not what was said. That's not what was actually stated last night by that crowd. And Karrion Kross seems to have taken a little, not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not been happy with that, I guess you can say. And he sent out a tweet we're going to pull up here on the screen that states the following. Unreal. They write the scripts, but the fans write the truth. Thank you, TikTok. Now, we do know that Karrion Kross's contract is coming up this month. Him and his wife Scarlett's contracts are coming up this month with WWE. Everyone's being very coy and very quiet on what is going on with those contracts, what is going on with those deals. Some are saying, hey, they haven't been approached for new deals. I've also heard others say they just haven't signed new deals yet. They haven't come to terms on new deals yet. So we don't know what the actual truth is, what the real deal is. But I don't think if they're still negotiating, that was good on WWE if they want to retain Karrion Kross. Because that, if it was me, would upset me. And be like, oh, you hear these crowds chanting my name and you want to overlook it as they're chanting something else entirely? No. And I can see him getting a chip on his shoulder because of that. Especially the man that we know that Kevin Kessar is. So we'll see how it all does play out. Him and Scarlett's contracts are due to come up this month. And we'll see if they re-sign or if they let him expire and they go elsewhere. Whether that's elsewhere is AEW, TNA, or so forth, we'll have to wait and see. I would love for Karrion Kross to stay in WWE, get opportunities, get pushed, and so forth. But the more and more we roll on, it looks like it's less and less possible. I thought it was very possible recently with all the new merch and everything. And then, also speaking of new merch, there's new Brock merch that came out. Now, with all of that, we also have some AEW stuff I want to talk about here on the show. But before we get into talking AEW, we got to talk about our sponsor. That's AECOOLY. Does the summer heat got you sweating through your shirt before noon? Maybe it's time to chill with an AECOOLY handheld fan. This pocket-sized powerhouse is your secret weapon against scorching temps. Whether catching rays listening to music or just looking to get a great tan, it brings the breeze right when you need it. With 3 speed settings, a rechargeable battery that lasts up to 10 hours, and a whisper quiet motor, the AECOOLY fan delivers cool comfort without the buzz or bulk. Toss it in your bag, clip it to your desk, or have it right by your side at all times. It's compact, stylish, and oh so convenient. So why melt when you can breeze through summer? Use our link in the description below, scan the QR code on the screen, or head over to pwunlimited.co/AECOOLY. That's AECOOLY now for coolin' in the palm of your hand. So, as we get into talking some AEW news, AEW dropped an announcement this morning that, well, Full Gear is coming to the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. They did reveal that the show will be taking place on November 22nd. Premium seating early access goes on sale Tuesday the 19th of August, and pre-sale goes on sale August 21st, with regular on sale going on sale August 25th. So Full Gear will be going to the Pru, as they call it, the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Tony Khan stated the following on this announcement, stating, quote, being around wrestling and being a fan of wrestling for my whole life, I know it's very important to keep a great relationship with the fans around New York and New Jersey. And we have such great fans in the area. Full Gear is one of the best events every year for AEW and the wrestling fans, and I'm very excited to bring Full Gear back to the Prudential Center. He also stated that I think I found myself in 2024 doing some of the same things I was doing in 2019 in terms of lots of meetings and lots of good conversations, but probably being almost too open to feedback and ideas too often. I was leading on a committee, putting an outline and an idea together instead of I should just sit down and write down and do what I know. So, a lot to talk about here, Tony Khan. Basically saying, hey, we want to go back to New York. We're going back to New York. And also, I'm taking the reins again. I let too many people kind of influence me in my decisions on things, then that ain't happening anymore. And this is like the second or third time Tony has come out and said this. Hey, I'm just taking the reins. Yep, it's good to have different ears and opinions and whatnot, but I'm just taking the reins. So we'll see what all this leads to, but we do know that Full Gear will be taking place from the Prudential Center on November 22nd, and that rounds out their pay-per-view schedule. That lets us know where all the rest of the shows are taking place for the rest of the year, with the news last year of World's End coming to us from the Now Arena in Chicago. Big Jim, I never once said anything about The Rock. So if you want to throw lies on my name, I can just do this. You just get banned out from the chat because I'm tired of this guy. I never once show me a report or a post I made about The Rock. I did one yesterday saying, man, a lot of people really got it in their head The Rock showing up tonight, when I didn't think for a second Rock was showing up last night. So, because Big Jim always wants to jump in my thing and say, you lied about this, you lied about that. Well, how about, you can't tell me I lied anymore because I just kicked you out of the chat for good. I'm over it. I'm over it. But moving forward, we have some news on one former AEW Women's World Champion who, well, hasn't been around for a while, and now we know why. Hikaru Shida appears to be back in the United States. The 37-year-old wrestler hasn't worked for AEW since November, as she has been in Japan dealing with visa issues. She recently posted a photo of herself with a passport on Instagram, along with an airplane emoji. On Saturday, she posted an image of herself reuniting with her cats. Her cats have actually been, basically, I guess you could say, living with old Kenny Omega in the United States while she's getting everything cleared up over there in Japan with her passport and so forth. Also recently, I want to say back in like May, Kenny Omega was on one of his live streams and talked about how, getting the visa taken care of is a longer process than he expected. Longer process than he thought. And that's why, some people have been missing. But the final thing we're going to talk about here, that I'm going to pull up here on the screen, has to do with Dustin Rhodes. Now, we do know that this past Thursday on Dynamite, Dustin Rhodes was in a brutal street fight with Kyle Fletcher. They structured him out after the match, and we thought, okay, he lost the TNT title. He still got those other titles in Ring of Honor. That was a brutal match. They did like an injury thing, keep him off TV for a little bit and go from there. But apparently, according to Dustin himself, it's a lot worse than anybody knew. And Dustin did send out a tweet stating the following. Sorry, guys. Feel like I failed my fans. Gonna be out for a while. As Doc said, I need a, quote, very invasive major surgery. MRIs and CAT scans this week due to Kyle Fletcher. Now, this is a real injury that he's now turning storyline and blaming Kyle Fletcher for, so that's fine. But he then goes on to state, in any case, for the time I was the face of TNT was special to me. I will never take that. I will never take what I have for granted. I'm in a terrible amount of pain and a hole in my leg. But that won't stop me from, quote, keep stepping. We don't know exactly what this injury to Dustin Rhodes is, but he needs a invasive major surgery, which is crazy, which is wild to figure out and listen to and hear about. I don't know what this injury is. Sounds like an issue with his knee because they did the knee thing in the match and the leg. So I don't know if it's a knee, quad, what? Thigh. But it sounds like he's got a knee issue that is very bad and he needs to get taken care of. So Dustin Rhodes seemingly is going to be gone for a while off AEW and Ring of Honor television. We do not know what they're going to do with the ROH tag team and the 6-man tag titles, as he holds the tag team championship with Sammy Guevara and he holds the 6-man titles with the Von Erichs. So we want to wish the best to Dustin Rhodes and whatever kind of invasive major surgery he does need to have and the recovery to get him back in the ring. But with all of that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is going to wrap everything up here for this edition of the Wrestling Wrap-Up, Monday, August 4th, 2025. I thought this went well. I thought this did very good. We got a lot of people in here watching, so that is very reassuring that you guys are interested in this kind of a show as well. A longer format show as far as being able to not just give you 2-minute videos on here's the news, boom, 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 but give more context, give more depth and analysis on the news. And that's something that people have asked me for. I did it in the past, kind of shied away from it for a little bit, but now it's back because people again are asking for it. So very cool, very awesome. And we'll be back on Friday for another one of these wrestling wrap-ups. Again, I do want to bring co-hosts on from time to time as well. So if there's anybody in the wrestling space, whether those are other podcasters, whether those are other content creators and so forth that you want to see on this show with me, tag them. Whether that's on Instagram, whether that's on Facebook, whether that's on Twitter, Blue Sky, tag them and say, hey, we'd love to see you on Pro Wrestling Unlimited's Wrestling Wrap-Up on a Monday or a Friday. And if there's somebody that wants to be on this with me that can't come live, I'm not opposed to pre-taping and then just airing it as a premiere later. That's perfectly fine as well. But with that, guys, I want to say thank you for joining us here. Twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, YouTube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, and podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. We will be back live tonight for Monday Night Raw. Talk about all that. Should have Luke with me for that one. So with that, guys, we'll see you back here later for Monday Night Raw. Have a great Monday and have a great week.